Hey everybody, Bryan back here again for another walk and talk on this rather rainy Sunday. I am not in Fort Wayne right now. I'm over in New Haven, Indiana, which is kind of a small town connected to Fort Wayne along the, I would say, southeastern side. So if you to leave Fort Wayne and head that way, you'll likely hit New Haven. I'm here at a park called Jury Park. I've been here before, not too many times. I've heard a lot about the place thanks to the pickleball phenomenon in the past 10, 12, 13 years or so. It's really taken off here in Indiana, especially here in Fort Wayne. A lot of people play around here. So they got their own courts over here. I like these blue courts. It's really nice. These seem a little better than the ones I play on normally. So I'm here on a day like today, not because I necessarily wanted to walk around in the rain, but I'm here to visit a friend who lives in the city here. Little town, I should say. Maybe not city. Well, it is a city. It's the city of New Haven. I'll be seeing her in a little while. Check in on her, see how she's doing. I thought, well, maybe I'll get out here early, take a walk around, do a video, talk about some stuff, see what I can find. I've been here before, but I haven't really walked the grounds. We stopped here, my wife and I stopped here, I think it was like 2 years ago perhaps, on our way to do something else. We were looking for a particular location. We pulled in here to check the maps and everything. So this is kind of new for me, what they're doing. We have a splash pad pool area. That's really nice. Ooh, that's cool. Even though it's raining, we got some people over there swimming, having fun. So as I make this video, I'm about I want to say about trying to do the math in my head, thinking about other things too. I think I'm about 9-10 days away from going back to school. Really excited about. I think it's kind of cool. I had taken up an extra job during the summer here, and not here, I mean, but just in my personal life, I took up another job, so I went ahead and put in my resignation for that this week. There's some conflicting times with that versus my being back at school, so I had to kind of cut my ties. And I've got conflicting schedules on a Friday of the week I go back to school, so I'm gonna have to find some coverage at my other temporary job since I'm leaving, just to be nice to the company and organization. So I've been thinking about my return. My past couple of videos have really gotten into that quite a bit. It's a big deal for me. I enjoy what I do, and unfortunately I can't do that for the rest of my life because of the money issue and matters of insurance and things like that. It's really a temporary job that has been occupying a lot of my education time. But given the nature of the job, what I do, spending time with the kids, it just really fits what I like. And I think my choice to not only pursue the psychology degree and successfully get that, but go beyond and start the master's program to become a school psychologist, a really good choice for me and what my motivations are. I've still got a little while before that is completed, so I got some time in the current school that I'm working at, and I think this upcoming season is going to be really nice, as you may have taken from previous videos. During my free time, I like to game, I like to read, I like to walk around and do things like this. But when I watch videos online, I don't watch just, silly memes and cat videos and all that stuff. I actually enjoy listening to lectures and debates and kind of intellectual things that get into topics that I enjoy. And education as well as psychology, those are two things that pique my interest quite a bit. And there's a rather popular psychologist out there whom I enjoy listening to, though I don't agree with everything he says. He had talked about autism. He said something that I thought, on one hand, it sounded pretty normal, pretty basic, but when I thought about it, I asked myself, do I think everyone understands this? And I'm not so sure, and I think I'm going to talk about that here while I can. Now, I might get a little jittery. The wind is picking up here, looking kind of bleak. If you want a Barbie tumbler, come out to Jury Park here in New Haven, Indiana. This is a great little playground here. I like this quite a bit. Nice and soft to the feet. That's cool. I think I'm going to walk over here towards the residential area a little bit. So he was talking about autistic kids, or kids with autism. That's the better way of stating that. As it pertains to their perceived inability to abstract the world around them. In other words, what they see is what they expect to be typical or normal. This environment here. Like, for example, if I were to look at this playground, this nice playground, and fail to abstract it in different directions, meaning the way it is now is the way it's always going to be, and it will never, ever, ever change, I could feel disappointed or surprised or anxious if they, let's say, remove one of these pieces of equipment and change it for something else. If I were so inclined, the anxiety may get to me quite a bit, and from that I may have a negative reaction. I would have to go into some sort of coping mechanism to help fight away the potential for trauma. And to a person that doesn't have to manage that, to someone who doesn't have to deal with the problems of autism, it sounds like a very simple problem. Like, it's not that big of a deal. But just saying that, as someone who's worked with kids of varying levels of capability and disability, it kind of gets under my skin to say it's not that big of a deal. That completely undermines a person's experience. And when I think about children with autism, which I do, I do work with them sparingly. Our population at the school I work at doesn't quite have a large population of kids who are identified in that way or diagnosed. But the ones I do work with, I try to make the best effort to not what I'll call microaggress, but really what I mean is not say something that would reveal that I'm forgetting something. That I'm forgetting that their condition or their situation requires a little extra care and thought. So if I were to say to a child who is going through a particular trauma that doesn't make sense to me, that it's not a big deal, such as the case of the playground changing, I'm really devaluing that student. And that sucks. I shouldn't do that. But I can understand if you're not in this business, if you don't work with children, if you don't work in a school, if you're not in the human services or social services or anything within counseling, therapy, psychology, if you're not in that, you may not quite see how it's not a big deal is a very big deal. That's a damaging phrase to say. But this particular psychologist, he was talking about the idea of abstraction, and he put it in the framework of a classroom. It's a good idea, since that's where, kind of where the center of a lot of problems come for us when we're considering how to manage children with disability. Because the classroom is just one big ball of stress, if you think about it. Well, he said that when a kid with autism goes into a classroom for the first time, what they're really doing is they're absorbing the here and now. What's going on right now? Where are all the chairs? Where are all the tables? The boxes on the desks, for example, where are they at? Are they located top center, top left, top right? Where are my things? Where do I put my things? I might put them on this hook here, this first hook, and my lunch bag will be on the hook just underneath. So they're kind of taking record of this, but in the here and now, because they can't abstract this to the idea of, well, there might be a day when I have to put it over there. There might be a day when I have to sit at this desk. There might be a day when the tables are completely moved around. And I need to be prepared for that. It's very likely that they're not thinking in those terms. So if a teacher or staff within a classroom do too much to change the environment, that could really rock a kid's mind. And I thought about that quite a bit. And if it weren't so wet out here, I'd play basketball. I'd shoot. Sounds like fun. These are nice courts, by the way. These blue courts are awesome. It's funny how they're just balls hanging around here. Kind of messy. And to be honest, at 12 minutes, I've pretty much walked this entire park. There's not much else here. I'm not going to go into the pool area. I know there's people trying to enjoy whatever they can here, so I might just hang around walking in the pickleball area. There's someone's car over there. There's someone's car. So I thought about this quite a bit and tried to relate it to what I have done in the past, what my expectations are, what I have maybe overlooked. And the idea of working with a student diagnosed with autism, the thought of that plus what I've done in the classroom. Now, I don't run the classroom. That's the teacher. That's their domain. I'm there to help. But I need to keep in mind the subtle things that I might be doing that could be rattling somebody. The other thing to remember is not all students I work with have, the diagnosis. There may be just suspicion. There may be peripheral traits or attributes that the students are displaying that may suggest potential diagnosis of autism. So there may be students I've worked with whom are dealing with these things quite a bit, and I don't even know. They may not even know how to accurately describe what they're feeling. So going into this school season, with the other things I've talked about in other videos about how I want to change, how I want to adjust what I'm doing to make it a better classroom, this is something I'm going to have to keep in mind. Because I do care about these kids, and I want to make sure that I'm not doing something accidentally that has big consequences for these kids. Now, the nice thing, though, as it concerns the worry about undiagnosed disability or um, issues that would place a child into special education. The school I work for, the district I work for, I think they do a really nice job of getting to that right away, of making sure those kids are well taken care of, so we don't have to be working in suspicion. We can tell from really well written IEPs, the individualized education plans, and even BIPs, or behavioral intervention plans. That's what I call the BIPs. They might be under a different name where you work. But we have those at our disposal. And last season, I made it a point of making sure that the kids I knew I was going to work with, who were somewhere on the special ed spectrum, that I could tell what their needs were, what their tendencies were, what potential triggers, and that's another thing. Those things are important. I got to know that stuff. And this year is going to be no different. I'm going to spend probably that first day talking with the teachers and seeing, who do we have that's new? Who do I need to get to know? Who do I need to, the whole being prepared, that sort of thing. And I'm going around the back side of the pool here. This park, it's really tiny, but those courts are really nice. I like that setup they have for not only the pickleball, but the tennis as well. I'm kind of done with pickleball for about a year now. My group has fallen off, and they pay to play now. They go just play inside all the time, even when it's perfectly nice outside. I think it's terrible. I personally feel that they've been hoodwinked a bit, and they're just doing it because they paid for it, not because they enjoy it. And it really sucks when your favorite sport becomes business. If you're not even playing for whatever you call it, like prestige, or playing to win medals and to get your rating up real high and have your name on some website somewhere. That stupid junk like that. That's funny. Here's a side note. I play pickleball now. I tell people over 10 years, but really it's probably around 12 or 13 at this point. Maybe even more. I've never had a rating. I've never done any tournaments. It's just not my thing. It's not like I couldn't win them. I couldn't, do a lot of damage on the court. It's just I just don't care. But around here, it's become such a cultural thing, a life culture, that it turns me off. There are people who spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars on these paddles and gear and the absolute best shoes, and then you play against them, and they can barely hold their own. Umbrella down there. I have a big red umbrella, easy to see. You hear the noise over there. They're in the pool, in the rain. Go figure. Now over here we have a baseball diamond. No dirt at all. Not sure what that's all about. This is the New Haven is part of the East Allen County School District. I went there when I was a kid. I remember being East Allen till about, from 85 to 95. Yeah. So I graduated from East Allen. Head back on up here. Wind is picking up. I can feel it in the umbrella. It wants to buckle or fly up in the air. So I'm going to head back over to the parking lot. This video is only 20 minutes. My goodness. Tiny park. Tiny park, tiny video. How about that? Oh, here's something I've thought about. Crocs. So the job that I've worked this summer, it's an outdoor job, working at a place where there's a lot of families and kids, a lot of interaction between myself and the visitors and all that. It's a lot of fun. Well, it's usually fun. Something I've noticed about kids, and I know it's always been there, but I think I've turned a blind eye to it, and it just kind of dawned on me. The number of kids who wear Crocs, I mean, it's I'm noticing it more now than ever before. And I get it from a financial standpoint. If I remember right, the shoes are not terribly expensive, and the way they're structured and constructed out of that weird foamy material, I can see how they last a pretty good amount of time, and probably pretty nice to wear for long periods of time. Now, I've got some that I more or less inherited from my wife, and I wear them to go get the mail and to maybe pull weeds in the yard or something. And they feel okay. They're just not very secure, and I don't like the holes. I mean, they're really just elaborate slippers at the end of the day, but I see kids wearing them over and over and over again. They're always slipping off their feet. And if they walk anywhere where there's rocks, they got to stop and get the rocks out of their shoes or their Crocs. And I don't know what to take from that. I don't know if it's a mere case of, hey, it's stylish and colorful and I like them, or it's mere convenience because I can just slip them on and off, don't have to tie my shoes, or if it's just laziness. I don't really know. I can't quite tell. And I'm not going to be able to really tell because I obviously can't necessarily get into the minds of parents at a distance. But when I watch them operate, they just appear to be a bit too comfortable in those shoes. And that's going to pose a problem because recess is already it's really a ticking time bomb if you think about it. There's a lot of kids out there. There's minimal supervision. There are a lot of things that they could be doing that could potentially get them hurt. So you got to be on your guard. You have to be able to watch and observe. And I feel I do a pretty good job of that, even though there are times, and especially this past season, if you go back and watch my Violet video, I talked about how she would spend a lot of time with me on recess. I'd still look at the other kids and watch them, but it's one of those things where you look around the schoolyard and things are just kind of plugging along, and nothing too weird happening. It's pretty simple. Here's the kids playing basketball. There are the kids playing soccer. Got a kickball game going on back here. Kids running around over here, and then the people who are crowding the playground equipment. It's pretty typical. But what I've noticed in this past summer is that because of the perceived rise in Croc wearing kids, how is that going to change recess? I can't think offhand whether my school has a rule about Crocs, because to me it's no different than an open-toed shoe or sandal, which I feel that's a rule. You can't have open-toed shoes at our school, and for the reason that I'm talking about, because there's an increased likelihood of getting hurt, and of course we don't want that. But something I'm going to have to take into account when I go back in a couple weeks is how many kids are wearing Crocs, how many times will I have to tell them that they can't, and what is the school going to do about that? Are they going to support that view? Because I think they should. I really think they should. I mean, consider it. These are not shoes that are firmly tied to the feet. The feet. The feet of the children. They're just not tied there. It's insecure. You could trip. You could You could be running around and they just fly. Well, that Croc that was over there on the ground, how do you lose a shoe? I mean, think about it. Here at the pool, you can say, well, if they had it in their bag and they went inside and they were barefoot, I get that. But I see Crocs all over the place, dumped off. There's one over there, nowhere near a pool, nowhere near a place where you're going to be taking your shoes off. It's just odd to me. And to me, a bit cynical here, I get it, pessimistic, but I feel the Croc is another one of these modern conveniences where we're giving up quality and security for ease and comfort. I think that's all it is. And if you look at parents, my goodness, you still have these parents going to the grocery stores in their pajamas, wearing those slip-on Crocs that are kind of like they have insulation. Like I've seen little fuzzies coming out. It's weird. But they're attractive to kids because you can take those little button things and put them in the holes of the Crocs, and now you're advertising something. Like, you know, I found one of those on the ground once. It was like LeBron James's head. I don't know who would want that to put on their Crocs, but that's what it was. And I've seen other ones like little happy faces, like meme words that they can stick on their Crocs. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but if you own Crocs, you can get these little rubbery buttons that stick in the holes of the Crocs. So now you're adorning and almost like bedazzling your Crocs with these little images. And I find it silly, but again, we're talking about kids. But then again, I see adults wearing these things out in public. I'm not going to wear my Crocs out in the grocery store. I'll take it to the beach, slip on, slip off. But everywhere else, I'm going to wear actual shoes or boots where appropriate. I don't know. It's another one of those weird things that I think flies under the radar of concern. And understandably so, because there's so many things to worry about in the school. This is one of those minor goofy things, I guess. But to me, they add up. You have a lot of problems at a school you need to take care of, yes. But then you have the small things, and if you don't take care of the small things, they add up to become this big ball of stress and concern. And then you have folks that just don't agree with you. And then something happens, then you look back and go, you know what? I'm not going to say I told you so, but hey, I told you so. So, hey, we're at about 28 minutes here. I like to do, in minimum, about a half hour, and I think this is pretty good here. I don't know what this is. I walked by this earlier. This little rack. I don't know. But, yeah, I think what I'll probably do is take some time off from making videos. I'm back at the parking lot now. Not that I was necessarily any further away from it when I arrived, but I'm going to head back to the car here. I'm going to try to figure out what I want to start the first video of the new season with. It might be in regard to my very first day. Now, I don't know how you do it where you work. And it's probably the same, I'm going to guess. Makes sense. We start out with a staff day. We come together. We meet each other, the new folks, introduce ourselves, talk about changes, expectations, get folks off on the right foot. And then the next day, here come the kids. And I said in my last video I was going to document more. I'm going to document from this meeting. I'm going to start right off out of the gate. Because I have a sneaky feeling. And I'm telling you now, on this lovely rainy Sunday, that I'm going to guess that something's going to happen at this meeting that I'm going to have to remember, and and refer to somewhere down the road. And I think I'll share that with you when that happens. I'm going to guarantee it right here and now. But thanks for joining me again. I'm going to take another little walk around the wind. I'm going to take another walk around the courts here and then head back to the car back there. Until you hear from me again, have a nice remainder of your day. Take care.